it's funny because I was having a conversation this morning with talking to a client, and I was um, trying to explain because we were talking about the kind of the villain of the story in this situation, and I was trying to explain there was change to do with it, and I could only thing I could think of randomly was the never-ending story, just the fact that you have this kind of thing that's coming in, and almost it's happening to this world, and it's changing, and they're sort of trying to outrun it almost, and they're trying to have an impact upon this thing. But it's funny because I do that all the time. I'll go to pop culture references to try and explain things quite a lot, and it's generally
Mhm.
story based. And I wondered if there's anything from your research into it, that is that something that is natural for us to do. So referencing story in that way.
Oh yeah. So that actually goes into evolutionary biology. So from an evolutionary biology standpoint, we develop storytelling to help pass along information from one generation to the next. So it was, like things like do this, don't do that, live your life this way. Things will work out better for you if you do it this way and not that way. And so those things were often told in stories. And so it might be something basic like eat this type of berry, don't eat that type of berry, right? But that would be told through a story so that people would remember it better. And so we've always done that. So that's one of the great things about using storytelling in your branding or marketing. You're not using something new. You're using something that's like millions of years old. And like it works today like it worked back then, right? People retain the information better, they remember better. Um, oh, and the other thing I forgot to say is that emotion actually, not only does it move memory from short term to long term, it actually is the only thing that pushes us to take action, which unfortunately you've probably seen this in your country as I have, but politicians stand up there and they say things to get people riled up. Well, when you get people riled up, then they take action. Um, so a good story, like I said earlier, um, needs to build emotion, and that's what gets people to click the button. It's actually the buildup of emotion that moves them forward. It's not the words being in the right order or having the best grammar or whatever. It's like, are they feeling something from that story? And if they are, then they're more likely to click buy now or schedule a call or whatever the call to action is.
Yeah, and I always think that's an important thing to remember, is that all of the kind of buying decisions primarily take place in the emotional part of the brain, and then it's kind of logical part of the brain that kind of takes over after that. But the initial part of it is all in that part of the brain.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So from that sort of idea of story being the driver for that call to action, when you're doing a campaign, do you ever tell a story across multiple mediums at the same time, but in telling parts of the story through different channels? So through email, telling one part of the story; through video, telling another. Does it come together, or is it an individual story you're telling across those at the same time?
So typically we like to keep everything uniform. So let's say you see an ad and maybe we try to tell a small story in that ad. We want to make sure that's uniform to when they click on that ad and go to the landing page or the website or whatever it might be. So the user isn't confused and going, wait a minute, did I go to the right place? Right. So that so you want to have a certain uniformity, although like you said, in the ad, you're only going to be able to tell part of the story. In the website, you can tell the fuller story. So it definitely depends. Same thing with email. Like some people do really, really long format email. I don't understand that. It drives me crazy when people write really long emails. So I typically push to tell a story in, 3 to 4 sentences and then get straight to the point. And then if they click on the link there, they go to the website, they get the full or more robust story. So that's I tend to break it up that way.